I don't know if an apology video has ever helped anyone. But it's been 6 months since things happened, and even though things have died down, ultimately I feel the weight of unsaid words. I made posts on social media, but perhaps something about seeing a person's face and hearing their voice makes it feel more real. And I want it to feel real. I hope it will feel real. Today I hope that whatever I say, it's the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. Hello, my name is Nate, also known as draikinator. I'm 26. Ever since things happened, I've struggled to find the right words to talk about it. I've written down what I want to say, so if you see me look away from the camera, that's why. I hope you don't mind, but I thought it was important that it be a video with, my face on it. I made a mistake and I want to own up to it, which means saying sorry and not making excuses. But at the same time, there's a lot of rumors and untruths, and it's difficult and scary to simply say, I'm sorry for what I did, knowing that there are people out there who believe I did horrible, frightening things that I didn't do. I've had people tell me they heard I sent nudes to a teenager, that I drew feral porn, that I'm some kind of predator. And I don't know if you've ever been called things like that, but knowing that people really believed things like that about me when they heard them, it really deeply affected me. It was difficult to face, to not hide from. It really deeply affects your self-esteem to know that people believe you're capable of something like that. I want to start by just laying out what happened from my perspective. I've seen people say over and over, you don't send something like that by accident, and I don't believe you. And that's why I want to explain how this happened, and I hope that by sharing that context, I can explain why it's not a pattern of repeatable behavior, why it was genuinely a mistake, and after that, I want to talk to you about my response to that. I really love warrior cats, and as most of you know, I used to be really popular in that community. I had a very tight-knit group of friends, and I was very active in running multiple animator projects and zines. I gained a lot of clout very quickly, and I found myself struggling to adapt to an audience. Whereas in the past, I had been able to snap at someone on the internet I felt was being rude, my words carried more weight behind them now, and I needed to learn to respect that. Whereas before, if someone said, I don't like draikinator, they were almost definitely someone that actually knew me, or someone I had known personally and had some kind of personal beef with, a peer of some kind, and suddenly total strangers had opinions on me because I was not just a peer member now. I was sort of an icon, a personality, a character, something valid to critique and not just an individual. And that change was very quick, and I was finding it really difficult not to take it personally and very hurtful when people didn't like me or my art. So around June, there was some other drama in the community. An old big-name fan, SpottedFire25, had secretly been in possession of an extremely disturbing not safe for work account on Fur Affinity. She had a secret persona with which she engaged in drawing pornographic material of feral animals. I found this material pretty upsetting, and I found it even more upsetting that she was involved as a moderator for Art Fight, which is an event I enjoy taking part in every year. When Spotted Fire came under fire for these allegations, she stepped down as a moderator and posted her apology to Twitter. However, I found her apology very misleading, but also it contained an outright lie. She claimed that the material was old, up to 5 years so, and that it was not something she was doing currently or recently, which was just not true at all. Her for Affinity and her Patreon had been recently active, and I found it very upsetting that this person my friends and my community had respected and looked up to would lie to her audience, to people that trusted her, people that I cared about that trusted her, knowing that they would not want to look into the veracity of the statement due to the nature of the material in question. However, she had stepped down from her position, and I didn't want to fight. I left a comment on her apology saying, "I am glad to hear that you've stepped down," and nothing else. I had been quite vocally upset on social media before this about her status as a moderator, so I knew she likely was aware that I knew her statement was untruthful. But my comment made it clear that I was choosing not to engage her on that front, and I was accepting her stepping down and moving on. The whole situation was very sad and upsetting, as you might imagine. And at this point, I had hoped things were over and that we could all just go our separate ways and not have to do this anymore. And that day, nothing happened. It was the next day, however, that something changed. I'm not sure specifically why, but suddenly my response tweet to Spotted Fire started getting a bunch of replies at the same time. Usually this means someone has shared the tweet on like Discord or a friend chat group or something like that. So a bunch of people suddenly see it in that context. But I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe it was just a total coincidence. But whatever the reason, suddenly I was getting a bunch of responses and messages saying that I was a horrible person for crucifying someone for something that they had done years ago and already regretted, and that I was being bad and unfair and cruel. And I said that I didn't accept her apology because it was a lie. It was recent. She didn't regret it until she got called out for it. She had been doing it in the days prior to her being called out. She lied. And I could prove it if they wanted screenshots. And I asked people if they were 18 and if they were okay with a not safe for work screenshot, because the screenshot was of her not safe for work account. If they said yes to both, I would share screenshots with dates proving she was being misleading about the nature of the content and about having stopped doing it, as well as a screenshot of a text message a mutual friend of Spotted Fire had sent to me where she outright lies and claims she had not made that content in 5 years specifically. And at this point in my messages, people understood more clearly why I was upset, and we walked away and the conversation ended. At this point, I saw a tweet where someone said I was a slug, and that had just been posted. I immediately assumed that this was like all the other messages and tweets I was suddenly getting related to the Spotted Fire drama, because it was like within an hour I got all of these different messages. They responded, and it's been a little while since then, and I deleted my Twitter so I can't access my tweets and stuff anymore, but they said that I was being judgmental, among other things, and while I didn't specifically mention the Spotted Fire situation, they were in the Warriors fandom, and there was the timing, so I still thought that this is what we were talking about. But she has since stated that it wasn't about that, so I suppose I was probably projecting or making assumptions unfairly. I replied back calmly, explaining that I had not accepted Spotted Fire's apology because it had been deceitful and that I could prove it. I waited for a response and tabbed away from the conversation. The next time I checked back a few minutes later, she hadn't responded to me, but she had tweeted a selfie of me I had posted to Twitter a few days prior, editing it in MS Paint to look like a clown. I've never had anyone do that to me before, like with a real photo of my actual face and body, and it really shocked and horrified me. I felt bizarrely frightened and violated, and especially frustrated, because I had been, in my mind, trying to explain to this person that they were operating under false information and likely would agree with me if they knew the truth. And they were choosing to mock me anyway, and I didn't want to talk to them anymore. I looked at their profile and saw that it said 23, and I assumed that this was their age. I returned to the DM and sent my 2 images as proof, a screenshot of Spotted Fire's for Affinity and a screenshot of the conversation with the mutual friend, proving that she had lied. And I did send a mean message saying that I hope she had fun with her turkey fucking friend. At this point, I was so upset that I wanted nothing more to do with this person or this situation at all. I blocked them and anyone else who wanted to argue with me about this, and I scrubbed all my comments about it and walked away. My intent at that point was just to have nothing else to do with the entire situation. I didn't send those images as shock porn, as some people claim. One of them wasn't even on Safe for Work at all. It was a screenshot of a conversation. And yeah, I did want her to feel bad, but not in the way you feel bad when you're exposed to horrific imagery. The way you feel bad when you realize that you were wrong and you have egg all over your face for being so sure you were right. Less than 10 minutes later, someone messaged me and told me that this person I had just been speaking to had just tweeted that I had sent them not safe for work and that they were 14. I was boggled by this and immediately unblocked them in horror and deleted the message, apologizing profusely, saying I was so sorry and that I had no idea that they were 14. I thought they were 22. It turns out their profile had said '22, as in the year they would graduate from high school, and I had misread it and misunderstood it, and I had made an assumption. I had been careless and thoughtless, and because of that, the absolute worst case scenario happened. I should have asked them to confirm their age. I should have asked if they were okay with receiving a not safe for work image. Frankly, I should have walked away. I shouldn't have even messaged them in the first place. I don't have to be right. I shouldn't have engaged a stranger in conversation we apparently weren't even having because I was hurt that they didn't like me. I made an extremely poor judgment call, and because of that, I did hurt someone. I can't describe to you what it felt like in that moment when it sunk in exactly what had just happened. My desperation to somehow take it back and undo reality. I was so careless. I didn't handle the situation well either. I was so upset with myself and the situation, and suddenly, with having to explain to people what happened, and realizing I didn't just have to apologize to the person I hurt, but publicly and to everyone. And I didn't know what to say. But I knew I should probably wait until I wasn't crying to write something that didn't sound like cry typing. I think we all know that, but the person that I did hurt tweeted that they were upset I hadn't posted a public apology yet. I still should have waited. I should have slept on it until I was clear-minded before I tried to make any words, but that's what a responsible adult does. But I was crying, and all I wanted was to make them feel better. I felt awful. And that's what they wanted. So I tried. I wrote up an apology, and it was awful. It was a mess. It was terrible. The whole night just spiraled into chaos, and by the time the sun rose the next morning, I had checked myself into the emergency room for a psychiatric hold because I was deeply suicidal. There was a lot going on. I had made a very real mistake. I had hurt a very real person through my carelessness, and I recognized that I didn't want that to happen again. So I deleted my Twitter and eventually my personal Tumblr too. I left most of my Discord friend groups, and I took a major step backward from social media as a whole. And of course, I left the Warriors fandom. I had left a wound on the community, and I knew it wouldn't heal if I was there. So I left. As for allegations of me being toxic, or manipulative, or an abusive friend, I don't even know how to respond. I don't believe that I can say that that's just not true, because no one thinks they're the villain. No one thinks that about themselves. Whether I am those things or not, I would never believe that I was. So it's not something I can fairly say that I'm not. But I know that the people who said they believe that I only ever complimented them or their art because I wanted something, that I only ever did them favors so that they would owe me, that I didn't really care about them, and only what they could give me, I read their statements. And I loved those people very much. They were my friends. And every time I said that I liked their art, it was because I liked their art. Every time I did them a favor, it was because I wanted to do something nice for someone I cared about. I didn't need them. I didn't need anything from those people. I didn't want anything from those people other than their friendship. But at the same time, whether my intention was to hurt or not to hurt, and it was certainly not to hurt, that hurt is real. Those people truly believe I wanted to hurt them, so the damage done is real, even if it wasn't on purpose. I miss them. I miss my friends a lot. But I don't want to hurt them any more than I already have, and if they feel that my friendship is a bad influence on them, then I would rather not cause them any more pain. I never meant to hurt anyone. It's been 6 months now, and in that time, things have been pretty calm. I felt isolated without any big outlets or social media and very few internet friends. I think my passion has visibly dwindled, but there's certainly other contributing factors to that. 2019 is coming to a close, and as we approach the new year and the new decade, I've been thinking more and more about everything that happened. My regrets, what I wish I had said or done differently, and how I wish I'd handled things better. How I wish I'd been more willing to walk away when I should have. We can't change the past, but we keep marching forward into the future, and I believe the right thing to do is to talk about the past like this, publicly in a video, like people wanted from the beginning. I am deeply sorry to the person that I sent a message to. I am so deeply sorry to all of my friends and fans who I have disappointed and let down, to everyone who feels betrayed or manipulated by me in some way. I am sorry to my audience for disappointing you with my actions and my inability to come up with an appropriate response. Likely the only way I can redeem myself is by being a decent person and continuing to be a decent person and regaining the respect I rightfully lost. Thank you for listening the whole way through. If you did, I hope we all have a better new year in 2020. Good night.